and gentlemen, happy Sunday. Before I head to church, I had to sit down and I had to record something. I took the day off yesterday. We did a little camo grind and popped that video out. And you know, I was really thinking about a few topics here today because a lot has been going through my mind because a lot of you guys have been commenting on my videos, and it seems like a lot of you just aren't playing Black Ops 7. And to me, that means that there is a real disconnect on either what the players want and what the studios or the Activisions are giving us, or is it just like a fatigue in the series as a whole? So what made me think about this was a couple of weeks ago, maybe J God did a video about the fatigue of Call of Duty. I don't know what the name was. It literally might be that name, the title of it. And so I kind of wanted to give my opinions from somebody that's been playing literally since the first Call of Duty ever. Yes, I know I'm old. Don't type that in the comments or you're banned. But there's a couple times during the series lifespan that we've had similar times. Now, we're going to talk about this all. This one might be the lowest of the low. I'm not sure, but we've had these time periods where people were starting to get fed up and things were then switched around, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. And I think we've hit that. We've hit a crossroads right now where it just feels like something needs to change. And so I kind of want to give my thoughts on the fatigue. I want to give my opinions on what I think in previous years was the solution and what we can do in the future to kind of get people back on board with Call of Duty again. I have my notes in front of me. We may get off script a little bit, but again, put your comments down in the, put your comments down below. Let me know, are you playing this game? Are you not? Are you looking for another game to like come in and swoop it away? But I mean, let's start off with the fatigue. Like the franchise fatigue right now for Call of Duty. I don't necessarily know if it's the Call of Duty fatigue. It very well could be the sub-genre, the sub-franchise of what's happening every single year. Now, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, BO6, BO7, most likely Modern Warfare 4, that's 5 games, and it only is 2 sub-series. Now, I don't think that anybody would have thought that this is where we would be in terms of titling and in back-to-back and doing that strategy. I don't know whose idea that was at Activision, but it's an awful idea. So in my opinion, and I've talked about this in previous videos, it really is time to let go of this series, let go of both of them. And really, when I compare it to another era in the Call of Duty realm, it really is when back in 2012, 2013, we got COD Ghosts, and this was after Modern Warfare, Black Ops kind of rotated for a little bit, and we got into a point where back then, I'm telling you people, there was a time where we're like, we want something new. We want something new. The players were complaining. Even during the golden age of Call of Duty, people were getting tired of those 2 names. And that's what happened. That's why Ghosts happened. That's why Advanced Warfare happened. Black Ops 3 kind of stayed the same, but that's why Infinite Warfare happened. World War II. Like, there was a couple years in a row where we had different titles, and part of the problem is Call of Duty saw those numbers. The games themselves did not do the best in terms of, like, obviously they're number 1. They did the best sales, blah, 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 blah. Call of Duty always does number 1. But in terms of like previous games, they saw a decline. So I think they got a little bit nervous when it came to names and changing the name up. But at this point, I feel like it's necessary because we have hit the same. I mean, this is almost more fatigue than it was back in 2013. And you can just see it multiple times in Call of Duty history. We had the fatigue of jetpacks where we had only 3 in a row. It was AW, BO3, and IW. And by the end of the 3rd jetpack game, I mean, people were over it. They were done. That was, I think, a main reason why Call of Duty 4 Remastered came out. Call of Duty was very well aware, okay, there's going to be a lot of people that do not like this announcement of Infinite Warfare. we got to give them something else. So I think we've hit that point in like the railroad crossing here where it's like, okay, something is definitely, people are not liking the game. It shows in the numbers, it shows in the player base, it shows in even the people that are getting the game, in the frustration of what's happening within the game. It's just, there's a lot of frustration. That's what I would say. The community seems to be just exhausted. And I think a lot of things that I would say as well is it feels like competition is definitely catching up. Back in the day, and I talked about this with a buddy of mine the other day, you know, when you really think about modern, like the original, like golden age of Call of Duty, and I may be wrong on this, maybe it's just me thinking this, but I thought to myself, was there a ton of competition back in the day? Really? There was Halo, but you still, you know, that was Xbox only. There was Gears, that was only Xbox. So there really wasn't that shooter that was able to be played by everybody. And that's when Call of Duty kind of took over. People on PlayStation could play it, Xbox, PC. And I think that's part of the thing too. Competition has caught up. And honestly, dare I say, done stuff better, you know, in terms of Battlefield 6. Now, I don't know numbers wise how that's doing right now. I think they're still doing pretty solid, but just the entire stretch of how they handled the release and how they handled the matchmaking and how they handled the updates and releasing RedSec for free. And it's just a unique, like with the fire, they've done a great job. And, you know, even going back to X Defiant, I know that game died, but it was a game that was listening to its player base. I will say this till I'm blue in the face. They literally swung and missed and released it at the wrong time. If that game released during MW2, I truly believe it would have done what Battlefield 6 kind of did to Black Ops 7 this year in terms of people choosing an alternative. And so, you know, on top of that, one more game obviously is Arc Raiders, and we've talked about this multiple times. It's just a very easy game, a very casual game to go to. You can play with your friends. It's cross-play. It's the whole thing. And so competition with the ability to do cross-play, with the ability of more people getting PCs, and the ability to now have Steam. Like, we didn't have a Steam library back in 2010. It was like, hey, pick up Black Ops 1 or Halo for me on Xbox. And most of the time I got both, and you're like, okay, I got 2 games to play as a shooter fan. Now it's like you could go find a game called Warframe or Hell Let Loose, or there's just so many different options that fragments the entire FPS player base, if that makes sense. So my next thought is really, when it comes to a couple games in a row that really just kind of flopped, and it's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, really, when you think about it, this may sound insane. I guess MW3 was a solid COD, but it was a solid multiplayer. Everything else was kind of mid. So like our last good complete package of a Call of Duty was either for some people MW19 or Cold War. So you're looking at 6 years ago, 5 years ago now, from the last Call of Duty, people went, okay, this is a complete product. I actually like it. It's fun. And that's actually kind of crazy when you think about it, because it doesn't seem like those games are that old, but they are. So the one thing I was going to tie in with that was going back to another formula of when people were getting stale or people were getting annoyed, was the era where it was World War II, or Infinite Warfare, World War II, and Black Ops 4, because each one of them had a section that kind of just struggled. Whether it was IW with the multiplayer, people didn't want another jetpack. Whether it was World War II, and I mean, that multiplayer kind of struggled in the beginning. There was like 7 maps at launch. The whole couldn't log in. And then BO4 didn't launch with a campaign. Some people don't like Battle Royale. And so there was a time where Call of Duty had to sit back and go, you know what? It's time to start over. It's time to turn everything upside down on its head. And that was MW19. And so I want to be very careful with my words here, because I know there's a lot of you that absolutely hate Modern Warfare 19, but I want to defend this game a little bit. Now, before I defend it, I do want to come out and say there was a lot of stuff that they did wrong in this game. The red dots, all that, like the loud footsteps. I totally understand where you're coming from, the tactical sprint. But at the same time, I go back and look at that game very fondly. I don't know what it is about it. I feel like this was a time where it felt like Call of Duty fans were united. And it's been so long. I kind of compare Call of Duty with Star Wars because I had a Star Wars account. I still have it. I just don't update it very much. And Star Wars feels like it's in a similar place as Call of Duty. It's like Disney keeps making wrong decisions and the stuff is not that good and people just don't care about Star Wars anymore. And it's the same way with Call of Duty. They just keep making bad decisions, or like they make one good one and then they shoot themselves in the foot and it goes back 2 steps. And so people don't really talk about Call of Duty like that anymore. And so the last time I thought about Star Wars being united was the release of Force Awakens back in 2015. Like everybody was excited. Everybody was ready. It was a new franchise. It was a reset. It was a new trilogy. And to me, that's what MW19 was. It was a reset. Everything was different. Graphics, gameplay, sound design, the way the game looked, the modes that they chose, rebooting the entire Modern Warfare like story where there wasn't anything to do with, you know, it was the same characters, but they were on a different mission. So there was some familiarity, kind of like Star Wars where like Han Solo was in it and, you know, Luke Skywalker was in it. And so you had that tie, but it was still its own unique story. And so I feel like Modern Warfare 19 did such a good job of bringing people back. And just a few things that I really remember about MW19 was just like how unique the guns felt and how great it was. Like the sound design, the reload animation. I mean, even the graphics, like you will have people comparing MW19 to BO7 and MW19 looks better. Like everything about the game looks better. And so, you know, the story, I remember booting in and like the first mission or a little bit past the first mission, you're in Piccadilly and it's like this terrorist attack. And it was just like shock value with just an awesome visuals and just like the characters that you kind of knew, but they were getting a new story. And it just, man, I think back to that and how well they did that. I guess it's a reboot, you know. To me, this is what Call of Duty needs right now. It needs to be completely rebooted and completely like a clean slate. Because you look back at the time, like I said, 2019 was 6 years ago. Think back to when 2019 released. What was 6 years prior? It was COD Ghosts. You don't think of it like that, but you would think MW19 compared to Ghost felt like such a long time ago, but that's what we're in right now. We're the last Call of Duty that was the same timeline was that. So it's time to refresh. It's time to start new and just really bring in. I still think they had lightning in a bottle with MW19 and they did not take advantage of it. I feel like most people in the chat right now would agree, like, that engine of MW19, if we were on that engine today with new settings and stuff, or new, like, whatever, new games, maps, stuff like that, everybody would be happy. And so, like, I think it's time to hit that reboot button, try a new, you know, new story, bring back the newness and freshness. I think of so many things with MW19 that was new. Let me just spitball a couple. It was the engine. Felt totally different. The story, totally different. Bringing in stuff like gunfight, totally different. Brand new modes, so fun. Tournaments within the game. They brought in Warzone, and despite whatever your feeling is with Warzone, I think a lot of us can agree the first year or two of Warzone was amazing. It was so fun. It was unique. And I feel like I'm missing one other. Oh, just like the events that they brought. The Ghost, you know, what's his face? Ghostface or whatever his name is. The haunting on Verdansk. It felt like in 2019 and 2020, Call of Duty was really trying. They were really on top of their game. They were setting the standard again. Whereas right now it feels like they're following trends and they're following, well, there's a term for this. They're reactive. They're not like proactive, they're reactive. So they're reacting to other games rather than being proactive. And I think MW19 was the last game that was like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're gonna set the trend and we're gonna make some moves and y'all are gonna like it. And that's exactly what happened, I think, for most of us. Now, some of you guys didn't, and that's okay. Some of you guys maybe think BO4 is probably the last great Call of Duty, or maybe Cold War. But at least think about that from a perspective of just in terms of like bringing us all together and playing the game again, and how many copies that sold and how fun those times were. And a lot of people say it was COVID. I don't think it, dude. MW19 came out in November. I was enjoying that game for a couple months before COVID happened. So it's like, I don't know. I think that was a really fun Call of Duty. I think it reminds us, or it gives us, I don't know the word I'm looking for here, but like it's a direction that's like, hey, this worked back then, resetting everything. Sometimes it just needs a reset. Don't worry about your skins. Don't worry about your blueprints. We just need a reset. And let's start over. Let's find a new subgenre, a sub-franchise that we can really fall in love with and enjoy Call of Duty again. I really do. But yeah, that was a rant that I was thinking about. I gotta go head to church. I'm probably gonna be late, but hey, I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday. If you went to church, let me know what your message was about. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Let me also know what your thoughts are. You think I'm crazy? Do you think COD needs a reset? Hopefully, again, I hope you enjoy these rants. Also, comment. I'm telling you to comment like 50 things. There's gonna be sermon notes. There's gonna be, did you agree with what I said? If there's any topics you'd like me to cover too, like give my opinion podcast, please let me know. So thank you all for watching. Sit back, prop your feet up today. Leave a like also if you can, subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow.